Hey everybody, my name is Eric Dean and I've been around on YouTube for about the past 10 years doing any manner of things. And on a whim today, I decided to make a little overview video of what I'm doing now, specifically where I'm living and why a lot of people seem to find it interesting. And in fact, a lot of people make comparisons to my current lifestyle and the great game Stardew Valley, which if you haven't played Stardew Valley, it's a 16-bit farming and life simulator about a kid who moves to a small town to take over his grandfather's farm once his grandfather has passed away and the farm is in disrepair. So he has to fix it up and decide how he wants to run the farm and make relationships in town and try to be successful. So I spent most of my life growing up in the city and only in my late 30s decided I didn't want to live in the city anymore. And my grandpa passed away about 7 years ago and left 150 acres, basically abandoned, out in Adair County, Oklahoma, which is the second poorest county in the state. It's a rural county in a state that isn't known for growing a lot anymore other than weed, which has been our biggest moneymaker in the last few years. But I wanted to give you a quick overview all in one video, maybe in an attempt to get some more subscribers or to catch up new subscribers to what's going on out here. So I'm coming down the road to the farm now. You'll start to see it peeking through the trees. We are as far out as you can get, literally the end of the road, the end of the power lines, and the far eastern edge of Oklahoma. Our land butts right up against the borders of Arkansas, and it's nestled down in the beautiful foothills of the Ozark Mountains. And in fact, we have a creek, a pretty nice creek that runs right through the backyard. It's absolutely gorgeous. Pine-covered hills, old-growth black walnut, bodark, lots and lots of wild fruit trees, persimmons, blackberries, passion fruits. They just grow everywhere. In fact, we joke that you can't spit out a seed here without it growing. It's pretty accurate. Every morning, fog rolls up off the creek and everything is wet. So you're gonna see a white house over here. This white house was my great-grandfather's house. I am the 4th generation to inhabit this land. My family is registered Cherokee, and this is, in fact, Cherokee land. That is the oldest house, built in the early 1900s. It is also empty and in pretty bad disrepair. Probably not salvageable at this point, other than the materials, and I use it for storage. I store some things in it. On the right here, you'll see a brick house, which my grandfather actually built in the 60s and 70s, and he raised a family in it. He married my grandmother, and he raised my mother and her sisters in this brick house. Unfortunately, since the farm has sat empty for so long, the brick house developed a pretty bad black mold problem, which we are still trying to deal with. I did not have a lot of money when I left the city. I invested basically the rest of my life savings into remodeling a house that I owned in the city, which I now rent. It is my only source of income. And I moved out here basically with just my hands to see if I could try to revitalize this land and save some of these houses. So we are going to try to mitigate the mold in this house, but it will be a long project, probably, I mean, not even the mitigation, but then, you know, the repair and the rebuilding and demoing out everything that was affected by the mold and replacing it. It's probably going to be more than a year, if not a couple of years long project. So in the meantime, it's fall and I've got to live somewhere. My fiance Corey and I, a couple of years ago, bought a short school bus that we converted into a camper to take to Montana to do some earthship builds. And I'll show you that in a moment, but that's currently where we're living, parked in a chicken house. Here is a plot of land that was just grass when we moved out, and my fiance, the hardest working woman I know, is turning it into a 100 by 40 foot garden where we're going to attempt to grow most of our own food. Coming around the corner here, you're gonna see the front of a chicken house. I'll give you another angle on it as we go. But this chicken house, out of desperation, became my house. We tried to live in the bus through the summer, and the bus was great in Montana despite the heat, but here in Oklahoma we have a lot more humidity than Montana. I mean, magnitudes more humidity. And the summer was just brutal this year. There was no way we could keep comfortable in the bus, even at night. So we decided to bring the bus inside this chicken house, which, as you can guess, is basically just a big empty metal building with mostly dirt floor, a little bit of concrete, but not much. And it itself is in pretty bad disrepair. It was also built in the 60s or the 70s, I'm not sure. But storms have blown some of the roof off. A lot of the walls are missing. There were no utilities when we got out here. No power, no running water, no internet, obviously. Just this rickety old chicken house. So we parked the bus at least under the chicken house to be in the shade. And then I started working because I thought, if I'm gonna have to live in a chicken house, I want the chicken house to be somewhat comfortable. And I assumed at that time that I was gonna get into this brick house much sooner than I did. The brick house, once we got the mold inspectors out and realized what it was gonna cost to get in there, we started focusing a little bit more time on the chicken house. In this brick building here, there is a well, and we do have a well pump, but our well water is less than ideal. So we hired a plumber to come out and install a water spigot off of the water lines that used to run to the brick house, which now end out here where this lawn chair is. There's my spigot right there. So that's the closest source of fresh water I have, right out there. And eventually I'd like to get it extended to the chicken house. But again, it costs money, and money is tight, and we have other priorities. So you'll see a couple of things I've been doing to the chicken house already. Down here is a little mobile chicken coop that my fiance Corey built, and we keep a dozen hens, and we feed them grain and table scraps, and the hens give us eggs, and those eggs are the primary staple of our protein. Hey ladies. Over here, my fiance also wired up, she's pretty great, 2 solar panels, and for a long time these solar panels were the only power we had. And they're still on, we still run quite a bit off of them, they're fantastic. It's 250 watt solar panels for 300 watts total. And it used to take care of a mini fridge, a fan, and all the lights. Here you'll see a solar tarp. I actually need to do more of this because this roof has holes, lots and lots of holes. And anytime it rains, that means we're taking a shower inside. So I bought these solar tarps on Amazon for $75 a piece. And I just need to continue putting them on the roof down to this point. And I'll stop at that point because the rest of the chicken house after that point is completely open to the elements, and it's not worth trying to repair. So what I've been doing is salvaging material off that half. This thing is 360 to 380 feet long. This portion here that has the different siding on it, you'll see, is 60 feet. The first 60 feet of the chicken house was an auto shop. My grandpa was a professional mechanic. He fixed buses for the county, tractors and cars for other farmers. So he took one end of the chicken house and turned it into an enclosed auto shop. That's why you'll see windows and a little bit of siding. But he didn't do much about the roof. He did, thankfully, lay down a big concrete slab inside. So let me show you where I'm actually living. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, we did get power. After an exhaustive search, we found an electrician willing to come out and wire us back up, and they actually set this power pole on fire. That was really exciting. I guess they caught a couple of lines crossed, and as soon as the company came out and threw the breaker, we heard pop, 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 and then this pole just caught on fire. It was exciting, but eventually they got it all lined out, and now we have power running right to the chicken house. This is the front door, and yes, I do have cameras and spotlights all over the place. Because in the 3 months that we've been out here, we've been robbed 3 times. Like I said, it is the poorest county, and before we got here, people had been routinely breaking into this house and stripping out the copper. They ruined the breaker box outside, the breaker box in the house, and there was even a breaker box in here so my grandpa could run his tools. All the breaker boxes were ruined and we had to get them redone from scratch. And they'd broken out doors and windows in this house, which was part of the reason why wildlife and moisture got into the house. It's a bad deal. But now that we're here, I think our presence here actually helps. And obviously, spotlights and cameras help to ward off anyone who would come do this place. Now, I am planning to install a regular people-sized door over here, but for the time being, I'm just using the double doors that my grandpa used to pull vehicles in and out. And here she is. It's a bit of a mess right now, as you can imagine, because we are kind of still building it out. And we brought everything we had from our homes in Tulsa and basically stored it in here. And then once we decided to move the bus in here and live in here, we essentially had no choice but to live among our disorganized storage, which is something that we are trying to get under control as we sort of figure out what this space is and what it's going to be. This is what the walls looked like. They were essentially metal with 1-inch styrofoam insulation and hardwood framing. That's it. So I have been adding layers, putting tar paper up, and then once I finish with the tar paper, I am salvaging some of the corrugated metal off the rest of the building, and I'll put that up as a wall covering on the bottom half of the wall and salvaged barn wood on the top half of the wall. This place is remarkably sturdy for what it is because of these big steel trusses every 10 feet. And those are actually hardwood 2x4s that they use as roofing purlins. The roof itself is also styrofoam insulation, just 1 inch wide with corrugated metal, and that's all we got. So, this is Lily Melon, our little black cat. She helps keep the insects and the rats at bay in here. Thank you, babe. I like to fill walls with personal objects when I build things. This is the 4th structure that I've worked on, and I always do this. Old pictures, old letters, mementos. I just like to hide things inside the layers of the wall so that if anybody redoes this in the future, they'll get a nice surprise. This in the corner did not exist. I have framed out this entire little box, and this is our bathroom. I'll get to that a bit later and show you. It's just basically a 5-gallon bucket with sawdust. We've been composting our humanure because we do not have access to a septic tank out here. There's obviously no plumbing, so septic tank is the only way to go, and we can't afford to get a septic tank installed right now. And my wife doesn't really even want to. She's fanatical about compost toilets, so that's what we've been using, and it works. You know, you get used to it pretty quick. This corner, which is currently the messiest corner, is my workshop. Right now, because I'm doing so much work in the house, my workshop is in the house with us. Eventually, I'd like to frame off or separate this part of the house so I can have a ventilation system and keep the sawdust off of everything. But you can only do what you can do, and right now, this is what I can do. So it's a mess, but I've got everything I need, and it gets better every day. Here's my table saw, a few more odds and ends in the wall. Now here, let me turn a light on. This is our dining room. This is a diner booth that I bought from a little Mexican restaurant in Tulsa called Tacos Don Francisco. If you're ever in Tulsa on Route 66, definitely stop by Tacos Don. It's the best tacos you'll ever have. I'm a little biased. And moving on from there, we have our cleaning station. So we have our trash cans. We separate out cans, plastic and glass, and paper. The paper all gets composted. The cans and glass bottles will all get turned into can and bottle walls. If you're familiar with earth ships, then you know what those are. Otherwise, I recommend you Google it. And the plastic bottles will be turned into eco bricks, which is also another earth ship thing. This is our dishwashing station, something my wife came up with. We have a bus tub and 2 jugs of water with little spigots. One of them is clean, one is soapy. We don't have access to hot water. That's one thing we just simply don't have yet. And I don't know when we will. An inline water heater would be ideal, We do not have gas, we only have electric. And I just don't know enough about electric water heaters to know what's worth my money, and I don't have a lot of money to play with. So if anybody has any recommendations, I'd love to hear it. This is our kitchen. Lily, you're walking between my feet, babe. It's pretty simple. We cook on a Coleman stove. We use little bottles of propane. This electric stove / oven would be great, but it requires 220 voltage, which we do not have out here. We only have 110. So right now, until we get another electrician out, we can't use this. I don't know enough about electric to do it myself confidently yet. And the previous electrician set the pole on fire. So if anybody knows a good electrician in Adair County, please let me know. These lockers are our pantry, and this was necessary when we first moved in because this space was open. It was missing some wall, missing some roof. I've since repaired it. But at the time, this place was filled with insects and mice sharing the space with us. So I had to keep our food locked up somehow safe. The fridge and the microwave were an enormous morale boost. I mean, if you have a fridge and a microwave, you're winning. Like it goes a long way. These double doors in the back were open when we got here. I have since permanently closed them, and I'm planning to turn them into a wall. Just a wall, insulate it, put up some wood, some beadboard. We don't need 2 sets of double doors because we don't need to drive through our auto shop. We only need the ability to eventually drive the bus out, which is the plan. We plan to drive the bus out and park it somewhere else on the land and put a shade structure over it, maybe a camper hookup. But this space will eventually be one big open space again. What you see up here, I'll show you how these work. It's a little airflow system that I came up with. So up front, above the double doors, you'll see that there is a big open triangle. Now, on both ends, this triangle was completely open when we got here. Completely open. So I framed it out and I put up some bug screen to at least keep the bugs out. But as it gets a little cooler in the fall, it sometimes gets down into the 40s at night, and it's tough. So I'm building shutters over this so that I can control the temperature somewhat with airflow. And I'm building them a little bit like a hollow core door using 1/4-inch plywood and 2x2s. Let me show you very quickly how it works. So I've just got it roped onto a screw down here. Woo! That's it. So I can pull a rope, open it, let air flow through, and then at night I will close it and try to maintain some of that heat. Now these will eventually be insulated as well, but I might as well wait until I insulate the walls or I'm just wasting effort. This is my gym. I've got my kettlebells, my punching bag. This old wood stove no longer works, unfortunately. It's filled with fist-size holes, and I don't know how to weld. But that's okay. We've got a mobile air conditioning unit, and I've got a mobile electric heater as well. This is my sitting and reading area. As we move along, here is my wife's workshop, her office, where she works online. And along the bus, we just bought a couple of these little clothing racks to keep our stuff accessible and not take up too much space inside the bus, which is our bedroom. This is the Keene bus, the one we converted to take to Montana 2 years ago. It's our pride and joy. That's it. A couch, some little dressers, and a bed, and an electric heater right there. That electric heater can in no way heat up this entire 1,800 square foot auto shop. So we just have to keep the inside of the bus warm because that's where we sleep. Same with the mobile air conditioner. It won't do anything in here. In fact, I'm not sure if it's even feasible to heat and cool this space right now. And even after I insulate it, I don't know that I can afford a unit strong enough to heat and cool this. there are any HVAC guys out there who want to give me some advice, it's 1,800 square feet with 13-foot high ceilings in the middle and a concrete floor. So I just don't know what would be the most efficient for that purpose. Over here, you'll see I'm working on some insulation. Now, when the roof got damaged, it blew this 1-inch styrofoam insulation all over the property. So I've been hiking around in the woods, gathering it up and stuffing it back into the walls. And I'm gonna layer it up too thick. So we will have at least 2 inches of styrofoam insulation in the walls once I get it all done. I am also, because we've basically been ordering everything on Amazon, I've been breaking up all the white styrofoam and using yellow expanding foam to sort of glue it into the cavities in the wall and turn it itself into insulation. So nothing gets wasted around here. The cardboard goes in the garden and the styrofoam goes in the wall. Now, another example of what I've been doing with salvaged styrofoam is in the bathroom. Now, the bathroom doesn't need to be insulated from the rest of the space via temperature, or it doesn't need to be insulated from the rest of the space's temperature, but it does need soundproofing. So I've been gathering up little bitty scraps of styrofoam and using my 1/4-inch plywood cutoffs to create these little pocket cavities in the wall that I then pack tightly with all of the styrofoam scrap. And here you'll see a bit more of the white packing styrofoam that I've put in. Now, eventually when this wall gets entirely filled, it should be pretty soundproof. And this entire bathroom will be nice eventually. I'm gonna put a door in, I'm going to put some walls up, but this is where we're at right now. And there is our little compost toilet and a big tub of sawdust. That's what we got. If you're at all curious about how to compost your own waste, there's a book called Humanure. I wish I could tell you who wrote it. I think my wife has the copy of it right now. Otherwise, I'd show it to you. But it is doable. It's entirely possible. I would only recommend that you not ask permission from the city because they're probably going to deny it on the grounds that they don't know how to do it and they don't want people who don't know how to do it trying things. But if you're confident and you think you want to give it a try it out. It's not that hard. That's the auto shop where I live in a short bus in the auto shop. Very exciting. I'll take you outside again and show you just how close we are to the creek. If I walk over here, you can just start to see it through the trees. There it is, just a bit through the trees there. I'd walk down there, but it's a heck of a hike. This is a very steep embankment. If you want to see videos of the creek, which I do have quite a few of, check out some of my most recent episodes. Oh, yeah, we do have a propane tank. I haven't gotten it checked out yet. I think it is full, but it's not piped to anything. So I think I could refill my tanks off of it and then use it inside. But like I said, everything around here is compromised and crackheads have raided everything. So we really do need to get everything checked back out before I feel safe operating anything, especially a propane tank. And if you are someone who knows how to fix propane tanks or wells or do electrical and you want to help us out and you're anywhere near Adair County, feel free to check us out on Instagram at Adair Farm and send us a message. We would love to talk to you. We need all the help we can get. And yeah, we would appreciate anybody who wants to lend a hand. But every day it gets a little bit easier, and hopefully I'll make another one of these videos in about a year and this place will be completely transformed into a beautiful operational homestead. Thanks for watching my video, and I recommend you go play Stardew Valley.